What's up guys, Braden here with SuperATV, and today we're going to be installing SuperATV's poly upper doors on this Can-Am Maverick X3 Max. So let's get right to it. Now what we're going to do is grab our clamps. We're going to come here to the B pillar on the cage. We're going to slide one clamp like this. Another one just like this. We're going to put one right here. We're going to take one, slide it over here like so. Just like that. And then one like that. Then what I like to do is kind of try to form these clamps to where it's going to make it the easiest for you to get them pulled together and lined up whenever you go to put your hardware in. So I just kind of pull them together just to kind of help get everything aligned how it's supposed to be. So yours should look just like so. Now we're going to come right here and remove our two bolts that secure the door to the frame. This one here, the clip broke, which is pretty common on these. We do send extra hardware for that reason. Now we're going to grab our middle panel, just kind of get it laid up here, and then I'm going to thread in my factory hardware down here. Alright, so now that we have our hardware started, we're going to grab our hardware needed to attach our middle panel to all of our clamps. Now we're going to grab our M6 by 35 millimeter bolts, a lock washer, a flat washer, and our M6 nylock nuts. So we're going to insert our bolts through here, just line it up with our clamps. We'll just start our nut on the back side, just like so. So now we're going to grab two of our different kinds of brackets. As you can see here, you have a small bracket and then a large bracket. The large brackets are going to be on the top tubes. The small brackets are going to be on the inside tubes. So we're going to show you how to install these now. So large clamp, we're just going to kind of sit it right there. And we're going to grab our small clamp. It's going to sit down here. Other small clamp will lay right in there, and the other large clamp will go right in here. We're just going to kind of lay these in position here to where we can manipulate them around. Obviously, they're not going to really sit and stay for us until we get our bracket up here. So now we're going to grab our bracket and our hardware, and we're going to start threading them into the brackets. So now we're going to take our bracket and line it up with our clamps here. What I like to do is just get a couple of them started, that way they kind of hang. This bracket doesn't want to fall as you're getting the large clamps. So what you're going to want to do is just make sure you have all this hardware started. I'm going to go ahead and snug mine up a little bit. I'm not going to fully tighten everything just yet, just in case there's any kind of a minor adjustment I may need to do. But I do want to put some tension on these, that way it doesn't try to sag or move around whenever we put the upper door on. Now we're going to take our rear door here and slide it down, just like so. Put quite a bit of force on it to get it down to where the threads will line up. Usually what I do is get it down to where I can get one screw started. We'll get that started and use it as kind of a pivot point to line the rest of them up. So it just seems to come straight down here. It's getting pretty close. Let's see if we can get another one in. There we go. Once you get two in, the rest of them will go right in with these. So we're just going to put the rest of our 3 bolts in here. The hardware that we're using is going to be our M8 Allen headed bolt with a lock washer on it. It's the same thing that we did with the rest of our hardware here. We're just going to run it up. We're not going to fully tighten it just yet, but we do want to get it snugged. That way everything kind of stays in position for us. Get these kind of ran up, snugged up by hand. So it should look something about like this. Definitely have some adjustment to do here, but that's okay. We're not quite there yet. Now we're going to come back here to our rear door hinge and remove the hardware just like we did in the front. And we're going to grab our rear filler panel. We're going to slip it behind this lip here on the cage and slide it all the way up. Typically, once you get one in, the other one is pretty easy to get started. Now we're going to grab our rear panel. We're going to slip it behind the cage right here. So if you kind of push in, then push up, it'll kind of start to slide into position. Then we're going to take our door hinge and door and get it slid back into position. Get it kind of held in place, and then we're going to utilize the factory hardware. What I like to do is just kind of snug it, that way everything kind of stays in place. Now you can see this is all lined up here. Now we just need to put our hardware through the rear portion of this bracket, through the cage. Now we're going to grab our spacer, an M6 by 25 millimeter Allen, a flat washer, and an M6 nylock nut. So we'll just take the spacer, just kind of slide the spacer over onto your bolt. Slide your hardware through, then go on the back side and install the nut. And again, we're not fully tightening anything just yet, so we'll leave that just like that. So the fit up from this rear filler panel to here is great. We do have a pretty bad gap here though, so we will have to adjust for that. We're gonna work our way up to the front door though, get that installed, and then kind of work our way around on making all of our adjustments. Now we're gonna grab 3 of our small clamps, slide them on the upper portion of the door here. We may have to move them around. And we're gonna grab our front door bracket here. And then down here on the bottom, we're going to install one of our large clamps. Now we're going to place our front door onto our brackets. We're going to grab our M8 Allens with a flat washer and a lock washer, just like we did on the rear door section. And now we're just going to line up our threaded holes in our bracket with our door and just go ahead and get a handful of these started. That way everything will kind of sit in place for us. Now that those are started, the door will stay. All right, so now we have all of our sections installed for our doors. Obviously, we have a lot of adjustment to do. If you look, we got gaps here. You know, this isn't fitting as it should be. So once you have everything installed loosely, you want to go back through and we're going to start adjusting on this now. All right, so as you can see throughout the video, this machine already had the exterior door handles installed, but we're going to walk you through what you need to do to install them. So in the instructions, you can print them off the website. You'll see that you have these templates. So you're going to have a template for each door and a handle kit for each door. We're going to do this one right here. This is going to be the rear left. So rear left is going to be rear driver's side. And here on the template, it gives you instructions on what you need to do. So we're going to fold this on this dotted line and we're going to cut it right here in this bend. So what I like to do, just to make it a little bit easier right off the bat, is I'm going to cut right down the cut line. So just take a pair of scissors, just cut it, like I said, right here on this line that says cut, and then we're going to fold on the dotted line. And you need to be pretty precise with this. So if you don't get it perfectly folded on that line, do it again. It needs to be, like I said, as close to perfect, if not perfect, as you can possibly get it. So same deal here on this dotted line. What I like to do, start over here on the edge, get it started straight, and then just work my way down that line, just making sure I keep that fold the same all the way down through here. All right, so it should look just like this. And I know obviously our door is cut already, but what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna show you how this needs to be laid out. So if you look at this door, it has a body line, okay? This bottom body line is what we're after. So when we lay our template up here, we wanna lay it on the bottom body line. That way it follows it just like so. You should be able to get it just like this right here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna tape our template on to the door. That way it cannot move. Painter's tape works a little bit better. I'm out of painter's tape right now, so I just grabbed some electrical tape. Anything that you can use that's gonna hold this template to the door the best as possible is what you're gonna wanna use. This electrical tape, it's gonna work just fine for us, but obviously the painter's tape will be a little bit better. So then, the next step, how I like to do this. Like I said, you wanna make sure this is as precise as possible. I've got this one laying about as perfect as I can. Now we're gonna need to center punch all of our holes. Now obviously, again, our hole's already there, you know, so we're kind of cheating a little bit in this aspect, but I will show you exactly how I like to do it. So I have a punch, it's pretty sharp, so it could penetrate the plastic, but what I would do is take it up here like so, and you can either tap it with a hammer, but when you tap on this plastic, it kind of flexes. What I like to do is take something that you can really push and divot. Now obviously, again, our holes are there, but that's the concept you're gonna want to use here, is go right in the center of that and push as hard as you can until you leave a little divot in the plastic. And then you would want to pull off your template, drill your holes, and then once you lay your template back up there, you'll be able to go through and trace this out. Now, another thing you could do with your hole here for your handle is you can take a razor blade, trace that out real good, and then go back through. But what I like to do is to pull the template back off, drill my holes, and then line my holes back up, and then kind of go through, trim that out with a blade. And then when you trim it with a blade, what you're gonna do is you're gonna leave kind of a score on the area that you need to be cutting. And then obviously when you go to cut, you can do it a couple different ways. I've used a burr bit before, where you kind of go in with a burr bit and you kind of open it up, you know, take material off. You can take a small whiz wheel, cutoff wheel, and go in and kind of make some corners and slice it out as you can. You know, whatever way, with what tools you have, is the cleanest way to cut it is what you need to do. So like I said, we'd have our holes drilled at this point, or we'd have our holes marked out. We'd want to drill the holes out to at least 6 millimeter. It's going to make it to where we can get our hardware in there easy. And you want to leave a little bit of leeway there. You want to leave a little bit of wiggle room with your hardware. That way, if you have to make any minor adjustments, you can do so. So, like I said, we'd have our holes. I would go here and I like to trim this out, lay it back up there, and then kind of mark with a marker, show exactly where we need to cut. You can even tape this back up there again once you have it, and then go through with whatever you have in your toolbox that you can cut that the cleanest. Like I said, you can do it with a whiz wheel, a cutoff wheel. You can use a burr bit. Obviously, a burr bit is a little more abrasive. I will show you a tool that I've found that is amazing for cutting plastic in any instance. So this is a deburring bit. So if you look, you know, if you have a burr or anything on this plastic, this deburring bit is amazing for that. You can go through and it'll clean your edge off. So let's say you cut it with, you know, something that's kind of abrasive and it's not a very super clean, nice cut. What you can do is you can take this deburring tool on this plastic and it'll leave a nice smooth edge, you know. And you know, whenever we cut this, it was kind of jagged at first, you know. We used a burr bit, kind of worked it in real nice, the best that you can. You're gonna have to come back with something like this and kind of clean it up, or a piece of Scotch-Brite, some sandpaper. Any of that works very well for cleaning this plastic up, especially on a cut like this where you have to start in the center and kind of work your way out. The biggest thing with this is just to take your time, make sure that you cut it the best that you possibly can. There is a little bit of leeway here if you do oversize it, which I'll show you that here in a minute with our handle, but you do have a little bit of room here if you were to mess up and cut a little bit too much out. As you know, that is something that happens from time to time. Obviously you want to be careful, but if you do happen to have a small mistake, our handle does accommodate for that and it will cover up any kind of extra material that you may cut off there. So now what we're going to do is grab our cable and then our rubber covering here. We're going to lay our cable up there and we're going to cut this rubber here right in half. And once you cut it, you'll have to kind of swell the end of it back open a little bit. That way you can get your cable fed through. So right there, it flows nicely. Then we're going to come to our door handle. You're going to have two Allens that hold this hold down onto the door handle. So what you're going to do is take your cable, lip it in to the track there. That way that's laying in there nicely. And we're going to take our hold down and reinstall it. We're going to make sure that we capture the rubber. And you'll just want to snug this down evenly. Get this hardware snugged. And as you've got it ran down all the way, you're just going to want to go ahead and fully tighten that. That way you know your cable's in there good. And then just check and make sure that it pulls the cable, as you can see. So now we're going to install the left handle to the door utilizing our M5 by 20 millimeter Allen head screws, our M5 nuts, Once we have the hardware started, we're gonna go ahead and fully tighten it using our 3mm Allen. Then we're gonna install our left bracket to our stock latch using the M5 by 10mm screw and our M5 nylock nut. Once you have it installed, go ahead and fully tighten the hardware. Now we're gonna take our barrel, loosen our set screw, and we're gonna slide our cable through our barrel. We're gonna grab the M6 by 10mm screw, start it into the barrel. Now we're gonna check to make sure that the door handle's working properly. We're gonna latch it and unlatch the latch, hit the door handle a few times, make sure everything's functioning properly. Now we're gonna install our left cover utilizing the M4 by 12mm screws. All right, so we've got our doors adjusted. We have everything looking how it needs to look on our side. Everything's fitting up nicely. Now what we're gonna do is go through, fully tighten all of our hardware, and then we're gonna repeat those same exact steps for the opposite side. Like I said previously, it's nice to have somebody on the inside to help you hold hardware when you're tightening it, or to tighten hardware as you're adjusting those doors. It can be done by yourself, but it's much easier to have a friend. When it comes to the door handle install, the exterior door handle install, we showed you how to do the rear one here. You're just gonna apply that same concept to the rest of them. Make sure that you print the instructions though. Make sure you follow exactly what it says on the templates. You do that, you're gonna be just fine for the rest of the 3 door handles. So now all you're gonna do is repeat all these same steps for the opposite side, and that's all there is to it to install SuperATV's full upper cab doors on this Can-Am Maverick X3 Max. Be sure to check the description below to pick yours up today, and while you're there, drop a like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.